Hi friends, this is Miss Yim. Today, you're going to learn about the animals of the East African savanna habitat. Let's get started. Here's a Venn diagram. A Venn diagram helps identify how things are similar and different. The place where the circle overlaps is how the two things are similar. The places where the circles do not overlap is how the two things are different. You will use the Venn diagram to identify similarities and differences between the Arctic habitat and the desert habitat. Can you tell me how Arctic habitats and the desert habitat are similar? Pause the video. Well, they're similar in a way that plants and animals must adapt to the very difficult conditions in each habitat. Now, can you tell me how Arctic habitats and desert habitats are different? Pause the video. Now, let's talk about the differences between the Arctic and the desert. The Arctic is very cold and the desert is very hot. The ground is covered with lots of ice in the Arctic and the ground is covered with sand in the desert. What about water? In the Arctic, there's lots of ice and snow. So during the warmer months, it melts and provides water in Arctic habitats. But for the desert, there isn't much water at any time. The animals are adapted to stay cool in the desert, and the animals are adapted to stay warm in the Arctic. Today, you will be learning about another type of habitat called a grassland habitat. There are many grassland habitats in the world, but you will be learning one in particular, the East African savanna. The word savanna is another word for grassland. Here's where the East African savanna is. Before we jump into the story, let's think about what you're looking for. Please listen to find out how the East African savanna may be the same or different from the Arctic and the Sonoran Desert habitats. Rattenborough, your intrepid or fearless adventurer here to show you something a little different. We've been talking about habitats, the places where plants and animals live. And we've spent time in 3 of the most extreme habitats in the world: the freezing Arctic tundra, the Arctic Ocean, and the scorching Sonoran Desert. Now, I've come to a habitat that should be of great interest to you. Some of the most famous animals in the world live here. What do you see in this image? Pause and talk. Welcome to the East African savanna. Savanna is another name for grassland, a wide-open, vast stretch of grass-covered land. You know you're in a grassland when there is a lot of grass around you, but not many trees or bushes. The East African savanna has very warm weather all year round. However, it only has 2 seasons, the rainy summer and the dry winter. The plants and the animals that live here have had to adapt to these 2 very different kinds of weather in the summer and winter. Luckily, I brought my umbrella in case it starts to pour. Boy, I can barely see a thing in all this grass. There's so much of it. As the name grassland suggests, grass is the most important plant growing in the savannas. The grasses are very hardy, which means they can survive the tough conditions of their habitat. Long spells of dry, hot weather, as well as heavy rainfall and flooding. The grass has adapted to these conditions by growing very deep roots. Even if the grass above ground is destroyed, the roots underground survive and the grass can grow back. This grass grows very quickly, as much as an inch per day. The grass in your backyard might take a whole week to grow an inch. Yikes! I'm surrounded by hooves. That's because grass is food for many of the larger animals, like elephants, zebras, gazelles, and antelope. They chew on grass all day long. I don't think grass is all that tasty, to tell the truth. But these animals depend on the nutrients in the grass to survive. It's all they need to eat. Wait, What do we call all of these animals that eat only grass? Herbivores. It would seem that because so many animals eat the grass in the savanna every day, there wouldn't be very much grass left after a while. But remember that this grass grows back very quickly, so there's usually plenty for the different herbivores like zebras and antelopes to eat. Grass is not the only important source of food in the savanna. Many animals get their meals from the acacia tree. Giraffes, with their long necks and tongues, are able to eat twigs and leaves from the top of the acacia. Not only are giraffes' tongues long, they're also very tough. It is a good thing, too, because the twigs of the acacia tree are covered with sharp thorns that the giraffes eat along with the twigs and leaves. Which word best describes giraffes? Omnivores, carnivores, or herbivores? The answer is herbivores. Elephants eat grass, and they like acacias, too. They rest in the acacia's shade and eat the acacia leaves, branches, and seeds. They even like to strip off the bark and chew on it. Elephants eat grass and parts of the acacia tree. Elephants eat grass and parts of the acacia tree. Are elephants carnivores, herbivores, or omnivores? The answer is herbivores. What do you see in this picture? Please pause and talk. I think this acacia tree might be great to climb and get a better look at the savanna. But don't forget that it's covered in prickly thorns. Ouch! The thorns on the acacia tree are small and very sharp. Acacias have adapted well to their habitat. Acacias have small leaves that don't dry out as quickly as larger leaves would in the dry, hot months. The roots of an acacia grow very deep into the ground, which allows them to collect water from far underground when there is not much rainfall. And their sharp thorns help keep some animals from eating too many of the branches. These trees are right at home in this habitat. Animals living in the savanna have adapted to their habitat in many ways. Some animals, like the giraffe, have long, powerful legs so that they can quickly run away from predators, animals that hunt and kill other animals. Their long legs also help them travel long distances searching for food. Can you imagine a rat like me keeping up with a giraffe or a zebra? Not a chance. Now, there's a little bird that's been sitting on this giraffe the whole time I've been watching. This is the oxpecker. Oxpeckers perch on the backs of large animals. This oxpecker will use its sharp claws to hold on to the giraffe, who will hardly even know it's there. The giraffe and the oxpecker coexist. When two animals coexist, it means that they live together peacefully. The oxpecker feeds on the fleas and ticks living on the giraffe's body and warns the giraffe of any predators that might be trying to sneak up on it. In turn, the giraffe will let the oxpecker live on its back and provide the oxpecker food, fleas and ticks, shelter and protection from predators. The oxpecker will spend most of its life on the giraffe's back. What a partnership! So here I am, back in all this tall grass, and I bet you can recognize the black and white stripes of the zebra I've just run into. Zebras are especially adapted to living in the savanna. They have strong, long legs that make them very good at outrunning lions and other predators. And the stripes on the zebra's legs and body don't just make it look pretty. They camouflage the zebra against the grass so that predators can't see it. Zebras eat the grass on the savanna, so they are herbivores. What does camouflage mean? Pause and talk. Over there, I can see the largest land animal in the world. Can you guess what it is? This African elephant is very big and eats up to 400 pounds of trees and grasses every day. That's about the same amount as the weight of 9 first graders. African elephants are adapted to the hot weather in the savanna. They have huge ears that they can flap like fans to stay cool and keep away bugs. They also have thick skin that protects them from branches and thorns. Do you see the trunk on that elephant? An elephant uses its trunk for all sorts of things. The trunk is, of course, the elephant's nose for breathing and smelling, but the trunk is also used like a hand for lifting things, gathering food, and even holding onto other elephants' tails. Baby elephants or calves use their trunks to grasp other elephants' tail to keep them from wandering away from the rest of the herd and getting lost. Elephants also use their trunks to drink water. They suck up the water with their trunks and then put the water from the trunk into their mouths. They also use their trunks like a hose for showers and playtime. These animals are lions. Lions live in groups called prides. The females or lionesses do most of the hunting. They are carnivores that hunt zebras, elephants, and all kinds of other savanna animals. Most groups of lions have just 1 or 2 male lions. The male lion is huge and incredibly strong. It has a furry mane, powerful jaws, and fearsome claws. Unless this lion meets a stronger lion, no other animal in the savanna habitat can match the lion's strength and power. Animals that are hunted by predators are called prey. One of lions' favorite prey to hunt and eat are zebras. Zebras try to use their camouflage of their stripes to hide in the grasses of the savanna, so the lions will not see them. Up at the top of this tree, I can see and hear birds that are waiting for the lions to finish eating so they can have dinner. These birds are called vultures. A vulture is a scavenger, which, as you have learned, is an animal that eats leftovers. All of the animals and plants you've learned about so far are parts of something we call the food chain, which is illustrated in this image. What do you see at the bottom of the picture? It is a savanna grass. The arrow points from the savanna grass to the zebra because the zebra eats the grass. The next arrow points from the zebra to the lion because, you guessed it, the lion eats the zebra. The next picture after the lion is a picture of the soil because eventually the lion dies and its body becomes a part of the soil. Then, more grass grows out of that soil and that starts the chain all over again. So, a food chain is a relationship of living things as food sources for other living things. Next, I think we should head to a habitat that's a bit closer to home and explore some plants and animals that might look quite familiar to us. But for now, I'm going to check out more wildlife. I'll see you later. Now, you're ready to answer some comprehension questions. Please listen to the question and pause. Then, try your best answering them in complete sentences. If you need a little bit of support, you can continue to play the video, pause again, and then based on my support, try to answer it on your own. Okay, let's get started. Number 1, describe the East African savanna. Pause the video. Well, there are a few things that you can say. First, the savanna has 2 seasons, a dry season and a rainy season. Also, there are lots of grass, but not many trees. Number 2, how is the savanna similar to the Arctic tundra? Pause and talk. They're similar because animals have adapted to live in both places. Then, how is the savanna different from Arctic habitats? Pause and talk. There are many differences. For example, the savanna has 2 seasons, dry and rainy. However, in the Arctic, it is cold all the time, and there isn't much water for drinking unless snow and ice melt. Second of all, the savanna is filled with tall grass that grows quickly, but there is not much plant life in the Arctic. Another difference is grass covers the savanna, but not in the Arctic, and some animals coexist in the savanna. How is the savanna similar to the desert? Pause and talk. They're similar because animals have adapted to live in both places. Some plants have roots that grow deep in the ground to collect water. Some plants have sharp parts to keep animals from eating too much. Some animals look a particular way to camouflage them with their surroundings. Then, how is the savanna different from the desert? Pause and talk. The savanna has a rainy season that brings lots of water. the desert has very little rain at all. Some animals have long, strong legs to help them get away from predators, and some animals coexist in the savanna. How do the oxpecker and the giraffe coexist? Pause and talk. The oxpecker eats the bug that irritates the giraffe, and the giraffe provides food and protection for the oxpecker. In the read aloud you heard, the grasses are very hardy, which means they can survive the tough conditions of their habitat. Long spells of dry, hot weather, as well as heavy rainfall and flooding. Say the word hardy with me. When something is hardy, that means it is able to survive in tough conditions. Many plants that live in extreme climates have hardy exteriors in order to survive there. You learned that grasses in the savanna are hardy. What else might be considered hardy? Pause and talk. The opposite or antonym of hardy is weak. Listen to the following examples. If I describe something that is hardy, say, that is hardy. If I describe something that is weak, say, that is weak. First example. Acacias have deep roots that collect water when there is not much rainfall. That is hardy. Don't sit on the patio furniture because it is old and might fall apart. That is weak. The soldiers stayed strong despite the unbearable heat and dry conditions of the desert battlefield. That is hardy. The saguaro cactus has prickly spines and deep roots for living in the desert. That is hardy. After several very hot sunny days, the new paint on the front porch started to peel. That is weak. Here's a picture of a food chain. A food chain shows the relationship of living things as food sources for other living things. For example, the zebra eats savanna grass. The lion eats the zebra. And when the lion dies, it becomes part of the soil where more grass grows. And then it goes on and on like that. What will happen if I remove one of them? Will all of them die, or could they find another source of food? Or what else could those animals eat? What happens if there are no replacements? Pause and talk. Here is the East African Savanna Habitat poster. We learned about the climate, water, ground, plants, animals, and adaptations in the East African Savanna habitat. Please turn to the next blank page and write Savanna on top. Write 1 to 2 sentences about what you learned about the savanna habitat. Don't forget to add a picture that matches your sentences. Have fun!